Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
When shopping for your family's meals, do you know where you can find Alaska-grown products? Everywhere. They're available at your local grocery stores and farmers markets across the state. Alaska-grown products are fresher and more nutritious, and buying local helps grow our economy. So just look for the Alaska-grown label when you shop, or ask your grocer where the Alaska-grown products are. Remember, Alaska-grown. It's closer, fresher, better.
And it's all Alaska-grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the satellite imagery today, circulation here that was yesterday down in this area, drifting up to the northeast and weakening, but still pumping moisture in the form of clouds and rain up to the North Gulf Coast. More showery conditions in across Prince William Sound to the Kenai Peninsula. And more rain today across the Panhandle, one trough right up through here, another one back there. And then you can see this one scooting up to the north there, catching the southern areas with some showers, but also some clearing following in behind here this afternoon. Pretty good clearing back to the west here over the Gulf of Alaska. Some areas of sun, Cook Inlets, the Sitna Valley, as well as portions of the interior. And even more of that from the northwest valleys here southward along the coast. Up to the north, you can see a band of clouds dropping southeastward right toward the Arctic coast there. The main front still kind of hanging back to the west of the main cloud field there. At least there's more higher stuff. The main front kind of on the back edge of that. And then clouds down here gathering. That's the next storm that's going to begin to affect the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians as early as late tonight or as late as mid-morning tomorrow. Otherwise, showers lingered here along the Alaska Peninsula, but winds were much lighter out in that area, and rainfall amounts were a little lighter as well. The low pressure here in the western Gulf of Alaska, again, weakening. That brought about a third to a half an inch of rain, or actually a tenth to two-thirds of an inch of rain across the southeast coast. For example, let's see, Yakutat picked up about a third of an inch, lighter over Cordova where they had about half an inch, and those rainfall amounts tapering off this afternoon. Over the interior, thunderstorms breaking out from the Susitna Valley, lightning strikes reported, and scattered right up through the central eastern interior areas to the east of this trough axis, where it's mostly just some scattered showers that extended down toward the southwest coast. Drier conditions back to the west there, and then there's that front back to the northwest. Otherwise, a lot of high pressure out here again over the western Bering Sea. So fairly light winds, a lot of low clouds, patchy areas of fog, but nothing too serious at all the way up to the north there. For tonight, we'll watch this system drop southeastward. This one will come northward, but really won't affect the area until late tonight, definitely tomorrow morning. You'll start to see the effects of that. Look for a narrow band of light rain, drizzle, maybe some fog. And that's about it associated with that rather weak front. Otherwise, fair conditions over the north slope, lingering showers after the thunderstorms slowly diminish into some scattered showers later on tonight, probably after midnight. Looking at some moderate showers here for the North Gulf Coast areas, actually east about Cordova, over toward Yakutat, still hanging on to some moderate rain showers there with this low drifting eastward. Still a trough off the coast, so showery conditions continue for the Panhandle there with the main upper trough weakening and sliding off to the east tonight and early tomorrow. Look for maybe just dry down to the south, dry for Kodiak Island, maybe some clearing, isolated showers, mostly cloudy skies, south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, and pretty good weather out here in the west. Then for tomorrow, we'll see this system comes up. Look for rain periods of there from about Chignik eastward just whatever precipitation gets into the eastern Aleutians will be quite light, not really heavy at all. Look for the winds to begin to pick up to maybe small craft advisories, and then the southeast wind flow could spread some light precipitation, maybe some marginal VFR into mainly southern Kodiak Island. Should be a pretty good day up here over Prince William Sound. Partly sunny skies, south central Alaska, Susitna Valley, North Gulf Coast, kind of a break in the weather here going on. There'll be some afternoon showers developing over the Kenai Peninsula. Thunderstorms again, western Alaska range, isolated to scattered thunderstorm activity. Again, up through the interior, much like we saw today, and low pressure up over the Yukon Flats there, but not a lot going on with that. This front really weakens as it drops southward again, sort of getting hung up along the Brooks Range there as the precipitation field, what's left of it, shifts off to the east. Otherwise, dry conditions here. Mostly sunny skies from the western Brooks Range southward across the Noatak Valley into Kotzebue Sound. And, well, actually pretty good conditions even south of that. Not too bad for the Seward Peninsula areas. Light winds, northern Bering Sea. Could lead to some patchy areas of fog through here. And then also some moisture slipping southwestward into the Pribilofs, but nothing heavy at all, just rain, fog, drizzle. And then a warm front beginning to push into the far western Aleutians, kind of having trouble busting through that ridge. Higher pressure here building up, so these showers will taper off and end tomorrow night. And then for Wednesday, 1,030 millibar high right off the coast. So that should give some dry weather for maybe a day in a row here for the southeast coast. So shower free, partly sunny skies in some areas, which means the clouds probably won't go away altogether. Otherwise, tomorrow night with this system, gale warnings come into the picture for the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island area, and continue into, tomorrow night through Wednesday, which is the day of this graphic. Rain back up to the north, definitely across Kodiak tomorrow night. And then as the front lifts northward, those winds should diminish. And pretty good winds, though, in the forecast for the Alaska Peninsula with rain, fog, and drizzle into Bristol Bay. They're spreading northward throughout the day. Looking at showers probably most of the day over western Prince William Sound. And then later in the afternoon, that begins to increase, edge its way westward, probably to the Chugach Mountains, which means northern Cook Inlet and the valleys will probably stay dry. Mostly sunny over the interior, light winds, widely scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms now. If they do occur, just be over the 40-mile country there from Northway up to maybe Eagle and then on to the east. But look for mostly sunny skies to the Koyukuk Valley, the Yukon Flats, the Brooks Range area. And another system here sliding eastward there pushes a warm front to the western central Arctic coast. So a chance of some light precipitation here from, say, north of, well, let's say Wainwright, Barrow, maybe over to Lake Talk, and that's about it. Otherwise, just isolated showers. High pressure right through here. Light winds, patchy fog possible, St. Lawrence Island through the Bering Strait. Winds becoming a little more southwesterly and west-southwesterly during the day there, but nothing too strong in the forecast at this point in time. High pressure holding out here over the western Bering Sea, so that keeping most of that moisture from those weak systems out to the west. And then you pick up the rain here for the eastern Aleutians on eastward. Otherwise, high pressure here off the southeast coast. Again, that should hold for at least a day or so. Keep this moisture directed northward, but eventually something will roll into the northern panhandle probably on Thursday. For the temperatures today down that way, 63 at Skagway, lower 60s here in the south. These are mid-afternoon temperatures, say around 3 o'clock, 59 at Sitka, lower to mid-60s inland areas. 50s, mid-50s here for the Prince William Sound area, 53 in McCarthy, but over 10 degrees warmer at Gulkana, 63 in Kenai, mid to upper 60s for the Susitna Valley from Anchorage, 60 in Homer, same thing at Kodiak. Up to the north, Tanana Valley, upper 60s to lower 70s, showing up all through this area. Tanana had 70 degrees, 64 over at Fort Yukon. 68 in Bettles, drop it down 20 degrees there at Anatuvik, 55 Arctic Village. Mostly in the 40s north of the Brooks Range there. Arctic coast central areas is 36 degrees this afternoon at Bear and 39 at Atchison. 50s to lower 60s. Still kind of some brisk west winds, 15 to 25 blowing there along the north coast of the Seward Peninsula, roughly from about Deering in across Buckland. And then those northerlies gusting up to about 30, 32 miles an hour at Kivalina. Otherwise, winds pretty light around the state here, except for Tooksuk Bay had some pretty gusty winds as well. Otherwise, mid-40s there from the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, 50s and 60s out here over all of the southwest with, or 69 there at McGrath, and 50s out over the Pribilofs, the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula wasn't too bad today, lower to mid-60s in a lot of locations there, with Falls Pass at 64, Chignik 62, Sand Point up to 63, and King Salmon 68. For the lows tonight, lower to mid-50s, so the Panhandle, same thing here, lower to mid-50s, northeast to southwest, right out to the coast. Cooler conditions, 35 to 42 up to the north, 50s for the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. Highs tomorrow, 65 to 72 here from the deltas northeastward to the Yukon Flats, Tanana Valley. Probably see some low 70s again in there among the high 60s. 60s, more sunshine here. Temperatures should nudge up a little here over southern Alaska, south of the mountains all the way to the coast, and mid 60s for the southern Panhandle. Flying weather for tomorrow afternoon. Marginal VFR covers the Gulf of Alaska yet up across Prince William Sound, but good VFR in the interior, down across Cook Inlet, and look for some IFR possible eastern Arctic coast. I think this stuff over the northern Panhandle, that'll be gone by tomorrow afternoon. And then lower conditions, as I mentioned, spreading up toward Kodiak Island, mainly southern Kodiak Island. But IFR tomorrow afternoon should reach the southern coast of the Alaska Peninsula, areas of up there along the Arctic coast and out west over the western southwest Bering Sea. Passes, Anaktuvik, both Anaktuvik and Adigan will be open tomorrow, as well as the Lake Clark and Merrill passes. In fact, all of the Alaska Range will be VFR, rainy, looking good, windy. Isabel and Mentasta, all VFR. Tanita also VFR conditions. Portage starting out marginal, look for gradual improvement to probably be VFR by early afternoon. And for the Chilkoot and White passes, starting out IFR, gradually improving throughout the day. And for the freezing levels, again, not much gradient here, about 8,000 feet, Bering Sea into the Panhandle. And then a little bit cooler air mass coming in behind that weak front as it sags down to the Berks Range there, dropping it down to about 4,000 feet, central western Arctic coast, 8,000 feet eastern Aleutians, and then back toward the upper ridge there, 12,000 feet out toward Shimia. Icing tomorrow, again with that batch of moisture coming northward. Look for occasional rime icings possible in the shaded area here from Unalaska Island, but more likely for the Alaska Peninsula above about 9,000 feet. And there could be some mixed icing up here to the north with the convection, a little more moisture there, as well as the lingering moisture here from the northern Panhandle westward to the southern part of the Wrangell Mountains. And yeah, that would be above about 8,000 feet. And for the jet stream here, big ridge out here over the western Pacific, actually nosing right up into the Russian Far East. Northerly still sailing southward there, but way to the west, but up to 100 knots out over the western Aleutians. Another branch around this big upper low there near the pole, 70 to 90 knot winds there, very close to the Arctic coast. And then for 9,000 feet tomorrow, west-southwest, 10 to 20 across the Panhandle, lighter here over southeast Alaska and the North Gulf Coast. Big increase in the winds here as that low comes northward, again with the gales showing up there tomorrow night into Wednesday at 40 knots out of the east, so at 9,000 feet, and then lighter winds back out west. 3,000 feet, looks like this, that weak circulation still evident here, right over Prince William Sound, but about ready to dissipate, so light variable winds, probably even no wind of any discernible direction over southern Alaska. Those westerlies up over the northern areas, and then the big winds coming into the Alaska Peninsula there. Eastern Aleutians, even around the Pribilofs, picking up to about 25 knots. Light southwesterlies across the Panhandle, and then light winds out west. And for turbulence, again, with the winds increasing, look for occasional moderate chop here from roughly Port Heiden down across False Pass, Cold Bay, Unalaska, Nikolsky, maybe out to Atka, and that'll be spreading northward of the light to isolated moderate variety to the Pribilofs tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, a pretty smooth day over the remainder of the state. After the break of Hanger Flying, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hanger Flying. Tonight, our guest is Bart Stone. Bart was on last time. I've known Bart for many years. He's a very, very experienced Alaska aviator, and he's a great instructor. And he's agreed to come on, and here we are in August, and here we are in hunting season, and here we are in the most dangerous month of the year. So it's good to have Bart back on. Welcome.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
So let's pick up where we were talking last time. When you come into a potential landing spot, talk about how you evaluate that for.
Well, first of all, if you're current and you're all set to go, operate off a smaller area than what you normally would do, is if you look your site over, you know, it's nice to do a high pass about 1,000 feet above it, and then come back down, decide where, when you're doing your high pass 1,000 feet above it, decide where your approaches are going to be from either end and where your departures are going to be, and ask the what if I have problems? What if the aircraft starts running rough at takeoff? Is there a out? Is there a meadow or something I can put it into off the end of the strip? You drop down about 200 feet, look at the strip a little bit closer, and what you would notice is that the rocks that appeared small at 1,000 feet are now huge. So as you keep coming down lower and lower in elevation, you'll see that the rocks are getting bigger and bigger, unless of course you've been in the strip before. So another low pass at 200 feet, a timing pass. I wouldn't do a timing pass at high altitude because you could have a little inversion layer, whatever, but once you do your timing pass, look at the strip over, stay at the standard, just a set speed, like let's say 60 miles an hour or something like that, just both ways, time it, use your GPS, that'll help you determine distances, and then as you're timing it and running down it, just fly to the side of the strip so you can see it at all times, because every time you fly by the strip, you should learn something about it. If you just come barreling in there and plop it down, you haven't really looked at the strip as you should. You should look at the strip every time, upwind, downwind, and reassure yourself that it's a good decision you're making to land there.
So do you roll your wheels or not, or sometimes?
Usually not. I don't usually roll the wheels because I'm looking for telltale signs like you know, is there mud? If there's a lot of mud conditions and the runway's wet, I might roll my wheels, but if it's a dry runway, I won't roll my wheels per se like that, because I've determined usually at a couple of my low passes that it's safe. But if it's a wet runway, if it's got big puddles in the middle of the runway, absolutely. Because if you have puddles standing in the runway or something like that, which we can have in August and September here with the rains, that can pull you off of your direction just quick as a blink, and you're off in the tules, and then got to call in a helicopter to get you out of there.
So earlier, I think maybe it was last week, there's a picture on the front page of the newspaper of two 206s over on their nose on a pretty popular beach area. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, you know, if you're going to land, if you land safely, you should just come to a stop and get out and walk, because landing in any surface that's not a proven airport, you don't know what's 10 feet ahead of you or 15 feet to the right of you. So the best thing is to stop, get out, and walk ahead of yourself. Dig your heels in, scrape the dirt, so at least when you get back in the cockpit, you can see where you walked and it's safe, and you've proved that area out. So people that go up on their nose on a beach like that, and I operate off that beach quite a few times, maybe they didn't quite look to see where they were going, because it's it can grab you, you know, and especially if you're moving at a high speed, higher than normal speed. You should just be moving at a really slow walk anytime you're taxiing on beaches like that.
I want to get you on one more time, because there's a couple other questions I want to ask you, and maybe we've got about a minute left. Some of the questions I'm going to ask are pretty basic, but I also want to acknowledge that some of our viewers out there are varying levels of skill and experience. I want to ask a question that might seem kind of naive. How important is airspeed control in an off-airport short field landing?
Well, to me, it's critical. Like if you want to fly at, say, 1.3 VSO and make your approach, you should be plus or minus easily within a limit of 3 knots plus or 3 knots minus, or 3 miles an hour or 3 miles plus or minus. You've got to be right on your airspeed control. And what really tends to get people in trouble is they move from one type of aircraft to another type of aircraft, and like some aircraft are forgiving, like in a Cub. If you're a little bit fast, you just pull off the power. Maybe if you're 5 or 7 miles an hour fast, you just pull off the power and the aircraft will pretty much stop. That's not true with a Husky or a Scout. Your landing areas will be extended tremendously, or a mall or anything else like that. But each aircraft has its specific airspeed that you should operate at on the short field areas.
Okay. Hey, Bart, we've run out of time. We'll get you on one more time.
Okay.
We've got a couple more questions for you. Appreciate you being on tonight.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Get Bart on one more time to talk about off-airport operations and some considerations you ought to be thinking about. Until then, fly safe.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Well, today's sea ice analysis looks like this. Some heavier ice now. As I mentioned yesterday, there was this stuff was about 2.5 miles away from Point Franklin. Still there today, kind of some heavier brush back up into the pack ice there. And not any drastic changes over the next couple of days coming along. Kind of a light westerly wind coming up in the forecast the next couple of days. So for the southeast coast here, light southwesterlies down south, picking up to 20 knots there up to the north coast with seas 7 to 8 feet, not too bad. Light variable winds over the inside waters, and then in the afternoon, northern Link Canal south 20 with 4-foot seas. No change for Wednesday afternoon up there as well, but the winds get a little more organized here, but still light northwest 10 to 15 or 5 to 15 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas, and pretty light winds here now along the coast. Northwesterlies at 10 to 15, getting kind of squirrely and variable up here to the north. For Prince William Sound, light variable winds tomorrow, seas less than 2 feet. Light south to southwesterlies for Cook Inlet, and then we've got some southeast 15-knot winds for the Barren Islands, turning easterly here across Kamishak Bay, on down across Shelikof Strait. And then these winds picking up to 20 knots tomorrow afternoon there on the east side of Kodiak Island, especially down to the south. And then gales in the forecast here. Barren Island, Shelikof Strait, east side of Kodiak Island there, southeast, east, and northeast. Pretty brisk into Kamishak Bay as well with east at 30 knots. Cook Inlet, northeast 15 to 25, strongest south of the Foreland. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast, but only 15 currently in the forecast for Prince William Sound. Bristol Bay, southeast 15 tomorrow. These winds coming up in the afternoon to 30 knots on the south side of the peninsula, 25 knots, Castle Cape to Sitkinak. Seas building to 11 feet as well. And then for Wednesday, probably some gales tomorrow night, or there will be gales here for the peninsula tomorrow night. And by Wednesday afternoon, they'll just be on the north side here, northeasterlies at 35 knots, but dropping off pretty good here on the Pacific side with the low center, less gradient through here, still southeast 30, Castle Cape to Sitkinak. And for the eastern Aleutians, north to northeast, 25 to 30 knots tomorrow, seas 7 to 10 feet, 20 to 25 for the central Aleutians, pretty light under high pressure out west. That holds on Wednesday, but the ridge kicks eastward a little bit there, so those winds will turn southerly and could increase to 20 knots late in the day out towards Shimya. Otherwise, small craft advisories, northerlies here, central Aleutians, and then 20 to 30 knots for the eastern Aleutians, 8 to 10 foot seas. Southwest coast, east and northeast, 15 to 20 knots, northeast 20 there for St. Matthew Island. Northerly for the Pribilofs, also northerly for St. Lawrence Island with seas not too bad. And then for Wednesday, pretty light winds here over the northern Bering Sea, south of Nunivak Island, easterlies 20 knots, give or take, could be small crafts in the afternoon. North 25 for the Pribilofs with 7 foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast there, generally westerly winds here across the area. It may not be exactly due west, could be a variation to southwest or northwest, but just 10 to 15 knots, whatever the direction. Pretty light winds there in Kotzebue Sound. And then for Wednesday, direction change here south everywhere from Wales all the way up across the western Arctic coast there, 15 to 20 knots. 20 or 15 knots are the central coast, then getting light and variable there off to the east, but the seas hanging up around 3 feet from Barrow to Demarcation Point. And for tonight again, the rain changing to showers, already doing that across the southeast coast and ending down south. Moderate showers continue here, say from Elfin Cove to Yakutat to Cape Yakataga, but action really dropping off across Prince William Sound, just widely scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies, and then these thunderstorms over the interior after midnight, developing into just some scattered shower conditions. This front brings some light rain to the central and western Arctic coast, but light, nothing more than 1/10 of an inch. Fair over the interior. This storm, that's what's going to bring the wind and rain into the Alaska Peninsula and eventually the eastern Aleutians as ceilings of visibilities drop over southern Kodiak Island tomorrow afternoon. Look for the scattered thunderstorms to develop again over the interior, mostly from the Brooks Range into the eastern upper Tanana Valley area. Still some showers lingering there over the Panhandle as an upper trough weakens and slides off to the east, but high pressure building in ahead of this developing system will keep this moisture back to the west at least through Wednesday evening for mostly sunny skies. Pretty nice over the interior, but rain spreading northward to the south. Well, that's a look at the weather for today.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.